Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Gate of Trust. We are on page 187. We are in the middle of a conversation about why the Torah doesn't explicitly talk about the reward that we get in the afterlife for the good deeds that we do. One answer we said is because our minds can't even really understand what it is. We're talking about a spiritual type of thing which physical creatures struggle with. The second answer, what he said, was because we talk about it in the oral tradition. It's not explicit there, but it is in the oral tradition. And the third answer, he said, was similar to the first, which is it's a developmental thing. In the beginning, when we're undeveloped, which is when the written Torah sort of begins, you tell it to them in simple terms, earthly terms, what the here and now, reward and punishment in this world. But when we become more sophisticated, later on, the discussion changes to be about the more mystical things. And at that time, when the Torah was first given, they weren't ready for this discussion yet, is what he said. It's an interesting and very complicated thing to say, which requires a lot of thought and discussion in other places. But on page 187, we continue with the fourth reason. Again, a fourth reason why the Torah doesn't explicitly talk about reward in the afterlife. Another reason, a person is not deserving of reward in the world to come on account of his good deeds alone. It's not only about your mitzvahs. Rather, he is only deserving of it in addition to his good deeds. Two other factors are met. One factor, that he teach other people about the service of the Creator, may he be exalted, and leads them to do good. It's not enough that you do mitzvahs. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, you also have to teach others in order to merit reward in the afterlife. As it is written in the book of Daniel, and those who bring the multitude to righteousness are like the stars forever and ever. But for those who reprove, it will be pleasant, and a good blessing shall come upon them. Meaning, it is only when a person will have the combined merit of influencing others to be righteous, as well as being righteous himself, and the merit of his belief in his heart and his tolerance of pain or poverty, that he will be deserving of the reward in the world to come. This is a very interesting concept. Based on the book of Daniel, Rabbeinu Bachya says that you need to, number one, have good deeds. Number two, we've got to influence others to good in order to deserve the reward of the world to come. And number three, you have to believe in his heart and his tolerance of pain or poverty. You have to put up with the hardships of this world with trust in Hashem. And these three factors earn in you the reward in the world to come. Very interesting. Very interesting. Even then, in truth, even then, a person is not deserving of the reward in the world to come. You still don't deserve it. Let's see why. The second factor, God's kindness, generosity, and goodness to him, as it is written in Psalms, and you, Lord, have kindness, will you repay a man according to his deeds. In other words, it's not just enough that you earn it. You can't really earn it. You still need the chesed of Hashem, the kindness of God. Why is God's kindness necessary? The reason why the reward is only due to God's kindness is because even if a person's good deeds were as numerous as the sand of the sea, they would not amount to the value of even one kindness of the Creator, may he be blessed in this world. All the more so will it be true if the person has sins. As he explains, if the Creator were to be exacting with the person in demanding that he thank him for the good bestowed upon him, then all the person's good deeds would be cancelled and wiped out when taking into account even the smallest kindness of the Creator with that person. In other words, God is so good to us, and his kindness is so great. God is so good, and his kindness is so great. And we have no concept of how great God's kindness is. And therefore, we're so ungrateful We're so ungrateful for the blessings that we have, that all the good that we do is canceled out by our ungratefulness.
Whoa.
In other words, what Rabbeinu Bachya is saying over here is very interesting. Wait a second. What Rabbeinu Bachya is saying of this thing is, like I tell my children, don't be spoiled brats. You know, there's this, in America, everybody feels entitled. You know about this? Everybody thinks that it's kommt sei, it's kommt them. Victor, I know, sometimes says it's kimmt them. I deserve it. I deserve better. I deserve this. I deserve that. You know what that is? That's so ungrateful.
Say the Hebrew word again.
It's Yiddish.
It's Yiddish.
It's Yiddish. It's kommt them.
I've never heard that. Thank you.
They deserve it. Entitlement.
Ah,
We
Also the
think we're
word
doing
come.
God, we think we're doing God such big favors. We think we're doing God such a big favor. Right? We do a little mitzvah and we think we're the biggest, holiest people in the world. Our minds are so whacked. And we think, whoa, you can imagine how much schar, how much reward we've earned in the world to come. Right? We have this notion of like how amazing we are. And therefore, whoa, think about how much reward we've accumulated in the world to come, says Rabbeinu Bachya. Hello? You don't even understand how much kindness you've got in this world, how ungrateful you are for all the blessings you have already. And if you want to start getting judged based on merit, you're in big trouble. I'm sure everyone over here in some shape or form has had this. Victor, I'm sure as a business owner could tell us about the employees that come and think they deserve a raise. Not that they never get it. Of course they get it sometimes, but usually it's out of generosity, not out of... Sometimes people truly deserve it. People have a self-inflated view of what they're producing. I remember I had a teacher once who used to say that. I'm not going to say morbid jokes. Okay. So what Rabbeinu Bachya is saying, it's like kids. The kids say, I earned it. My children told me. You owe me. When my children say you owe me something, oh, it triggers a button. We owe them. And yet we turn to the Eibishter and we think, yes, says Rabbeinu Bachya, you turn to God and you say, look, I must have earned a lot of reward in the world to come. You've earned reward in the world to come. You're lucky you're alive. You really want to be judged? Huh?
It's very harsh.
Of course it's harsh.
It's also very black. It's also, it's almost like saying whatever you're thinking is completely unattainable, and it's a useless voyage because you're never going to get there.
If you're trying to earn yourself a palace in the sky, Victor, you're going in the wrong direction.
No, I don't want a palace in the sky.
Okay.
That's not what I'm looking for.
That's what he's now comes a very important point. You say it's harsh. Of course it's harsh. What's wrong with harsh? Now, Shlomo HaMelech says in Shir HaShirim, Yamin mekareves usmol doiche. The right hand embraces, the left hand pushes away. Okay? There's chesed and there's gvura. In this book, he tells you is beautiful. Part of it is very comforting and very nice. Hashem is kind to you, Hashem loves you, Hashem is looking after you 100%. Part of it is harsh. You think God owes you anything? He owes you nothing.
What he's really saying, Rabbi, is that you have to trust in God and not in yourself.
He said that earlier. Now he's saying something harsh. Let's take a bitter pill this morning. Well, it's not always, Judaism, you know what I mean? Life is not always isn't always a pat on the back.
He's saying be grateful for what you have right now.
He's saying be grateful and the fact that you are and he's warning us about being ungrateful.
I understand that.
He's telling us how ungrateful we can be. And sometimes it's harsh. It's not, you know what I mean? You want him always every day to give you a nice pat on the back. Some days he's going to come and tell us that, guys, sometimes you act like spoiled brats. So what is he saying over here? You think that you deserve all this reward in the world to come. Your ungratefulness cancels it out. God doesn't owe you anything. Very important, very big thing. God doesn't owe us anything. We owe God.
It's true. It is true.
No, we have all kinds of kindness. We have all kinds of claims. You owe me this, you owe me that. It's very harsh. Especially now, if you think, but you turn around and say, but I've had such a difficult life and all these bad things have happened to me and I've been such a good Jew and you've been revert. So if that's the way your list looks, you're probably not counting your blessings properly, is what he's saying this morning. You're probably not counting your blessings properly.
But he also says, he said, you taught us that if you don't see it in this world, you could see it in the next world. And so you're the reward, the good, because when you, again, you're saying.
If you don't see it in this world, you're not seeing your blessings properly, is what he's saying right now.
Yes.
Yeah, which is contradictory to what he said before.
Okay.
But I love this. I love
In other words, it's a very powerful lesson. I think we shouldn't move away from this. It's a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful lesson. You're not owed anything in the next world, says Rabbeinu Bachya. You're not owed anything. And if you don't realize that how the blessings that you're getting in this world, you're not counting your blessings properly. And that itself makes you not worthy of getting any blessings in the next world. So any blessing you're going to get in this next world is a kindness of Hashem. It's very interesting. It says, on a similar note, okay, there's a famous midrash that says in the beginning, Hashem wanted to create the world with midas hadin. In the beginning, Hashem thought he would create the world out of judgment. But then he saw that if he created the world with strict judgment, nobody would survive. Because there's no tzaddik who would survive in that world. Nobody's righteous enough to be judged purely on their merits. So therefore, Shutaf B'may Midas HaRachamim, Hashem combined mercy and compassion. And because Hashem created the world out of mercy and compassion, only because of God's compassion can we survive in the world. On our own deeds, we don't measure up. Now, this is a very humbling thought. This is a very humbling thought. So he asks, this is in answer to a question, right? Why does the Torah not focus on reward in the afterlife? And his answer is, don't start convincing yourself you've earned it.
I love the story of the Rebbe kissing his shoes before he threw them out.
I never heard that story before.
I did, I read it. Whether it's made up, I don't know. But my mother did that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why did she do that?
She was teaching us to be grateful for everything we had, however small it might have been.
So gratitude. So Batya is taking out of this, the lesson over here is the importance of gratitude. To be grateful, and that's what he's really saying. Be grateful for the blessings that we have.
Absolutely.
And he's saying something that if you think, God owes you, you're probably not counting your blessings properly. If you think God owes you, you're probably not counting your blessings properly. You're not realizing how blessed you are.
Absolutely.
So is it harsh? It is harsh, but it's also very important. It's a lesson. The exercise that we learn from this is to reevaluate our blessings. Start appreciating all the blessings that you have even more.
Absolutely.
You know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. In this week's parasha, Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, goes to Haran. Jacob leaves Israel and he goes off to Haran to establish a family, and he prays to Hashem to help him. If Hashem will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, I'll come back here and I'll do all kinds. He makes all kinds of promises that he'll give to Hashem. And he goes to Haran and establishes a family, and he survives. And he comes back next week's parasha with a whole 12 tribes and a whole family. And he comes and he finally meets up with Esav again. And before he meets Esav, Yaakov davens to Hashem. And he says the famous words. He says, Kotointi mikol hachasadim. He said, I've become small from all the kindnesses that I have received. And he davens to Hashem for help. And he tries to make plans on earth and different things, because Yaakov doesn't know if he's worthy of God's help anymore. He says, I've received so many blessings. I've received so much blessing. How can I be worthy of more help from Hashem? How can I be worthy of more? He thinks how could I keep getting blessed? I've had so much blessing. How am I going to get any more blessed? And obviously Hashem blesses him some more. But this is a characteristic that we need to learn from Yaakov?
I think one more component in this, which helps to be grateful, is don't have any expectation. Just if you do not expect a lot, then you're grateful for what you have.
Absolutely.
Firstly, that's true. That's very true. But secondly, let's look deeper. What does an expectation mean? Expect from who?
Yeah.
Expect from who? Expect from God. Do you know how much? It's not even that. You see, you might think, well, you don't expect anything from God, so then you'll never get disappointed by God. Do you know how much God is giving you? He's giving. What we're learning over here is to say we're getting far more than we deserve. Expect. Do you know how much more than we deserve we're getting? Elaine, you raised your hand? Your thing on the screen raised your hand. Okay, you can whatever. You raised your Zoom hand. It's okay. We hands down, hands up, whatever. It's all good. I lowered your hand. It's a very interesting lesson. See, don't expect. What does that mean exactly? Do you know how blessed we are? That's what he's saying. Do you realize how blessed you are? So the exercise for today, ladies and gentlemen, is to appreciate the blessings in our lives and to realize the kindness of Hashem, that we have so much more than we could. We have so much good in our lives. And to focus on the blessings that we have from Hashem.
Is that why Chabad pours the wine over the top of the cup when you make Kiddush?
Well, that's an interesting question. That's almost symbolic of a prayer for overflowing blessings.
Mm.
I love that. I love that.
That's a prayer for, and I guess it's also a symbol of gratitude for overflowing blessings.
Absolutely.
So do you see your cup as half empty? Or do you see your cup as overflowing? David HaMelech says, Kaisi Ravaya, my cup is full. Right? In Psalm 23. My cup is full. We say overflowing. Do you see your life that your cup is overflowing with blessings?
Absolutely.
That's what Rabbeinu Bachya wants to know. Are we properly grateful to Hashem for the overflowing blessings that we have in our lives? Or do we think that he owes us? Because he says, if you think that he owes you, boy, that ingratitude will cost you. Now, that's a scary way. It's not meant to be a scare tactic. This isn't a scare tactic. But it is a reminder about the importance of gratitude. So really, is it harsh, Victor? It's not harsh. Because this is one of the greatest gifts we can ever get. Because if we leave today with the capacity to count our blessings, we will have a much happier life as a result of it. Right? If you spend your life thinking that your cup is, what do they say? The pessimist thinks their cup is half empty. The optimist, they say, thinks their cup is half full. Forget about half full. The realist, says Rabbeinu Bachya, knows that their cup is overflowing.
I think I'm related to that man. I'm named after him.
The realist, says Rabbeinu Bachya, knows that their cup is overflowing. So conventional wisdom is that a pessimist says their cup is half empty. An optimist says their cup is half full. And Rabbeinu Bachya's wisdom is that the realist says their cup is overflowing. Now, is your cup overflowing?
Totally. Totally.
Realistically, is the cup overflowing? Rabbeinu Bachya says yes.
Yes.
But in order to do that, you have to count your blessings. And being able to do that, you know what it says in Pirkei Avos? Ezehu Ashir, who is wealthy, Hasameach B'Cholkei, the one who's happy with what he has. It's the gift of wealth. The greatest gift he could give us. Is it harsh? It's not harsh. It's actually the greatest kindness. Feels harsh when you first hear it, but it's actually the greatest kindness. So we started off this morning by saying that learning this thing changes our outlook on life.
Sure does.
Here's a good example.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure does.
Thank God for the blessings that we have in our life. We can't even begin to thank Hashem. Ilu pinu male kashiras hayam. Well, here he says, if our mouths was, if we had all the words of this, what did he say? Like the sand of the sea. Even if our mitzvahs were as much as the sand of the sea, we still haven't earned the kindnesses we get from Hashem. Ladies and gentlemen,